Hey, latest on Storytime update. Yeah, my burn's going well. Let me show ya. And that being said, if you're using the honey trick, make sure that when you cover it with the bandage, that when you're going to take it off, you get it wet first, have it soaked in lukewarm water, and then it'll just fall off. But you don't want to go ripping it. The honey will act like a wax when it gets cooled, and then you'll rip your skin off, and it's very delicate, so you don't want to do that, okay? But it works. I swear it works. Honey and lavender. Like I've said, I've been through many burns. Yeah, try not to get burned. How about that? Yes, maybe wear protective gear. I have yet to listen to my own advice, but good luck to you. Okay, so a couple more kiddo stories and then we'll get to the head injuries. I promise. Okay. Remember, it's a journal of my life, but like a live diary. I know. Pretty cool. And hopefully my kids will like this. Or think it's weird. Really, honestly, it's fine. Either way, they'll know who I was growing up and what we did. And they'll get to show their grandkids. How cool is that when I'm no longer around? It'll still be around. Now that's something. Okay, so same house. And by the way, yes, sometimes I will do this during the day and sometimes I'll do this at night. It just depends on whenever I feel like it or have time for it. So, okay, same house. And my sister and I, we had hamsters. By the way, where did hamsters even come from other than the pet store? I've never seen them in the wild. Real question. They were lab grown, weren't they? Figures. Okay, so I have a boy hamster and she has a girl hamster, and we didn't know that they weren't fixed because they came from the pet store. So we just automatically assumed that they were. And well, hers had little babies, and that was so cute. And we saw them the next day, and we're just like, oh, she had babies. And then we went and played with whatever we were doing. I think we were coloring, and all of a sudden we hear. We look back like, the heck? She was throwing her babies against the freaking cage, and it was horrible, okay? It was like one of those glass or plastic tanks you hold them in. Have the wire cage, okay? So I get to work immediately on a popsicle stick raft, okay? Remember that ditch I told you about? Yeah, we sent her down, and she was a bad mama. She was a murderer, okay? And that just couldn't happen. How dare her throw her little babies around and kill them, and there's blood everywhere, and she's biting them all over. No, she deserved that little trip down the ditch. I don't know if she survived. I will never know. We shoved her down it, put her on the little float, and just floated her down. Just gone. Bye. So rude. And then my brother and I found this family of baby quails right next to our house. There was like, I think it was in the neighbor's yard. And we decided to collect them. And I was like, oh, but I don't know. What about their mom and dad? Won't they be sad? And then he's like, Jan, no, they're birds. They're not going to care. And these are cute. So let's take them. And so we got a shoebox and we put them into our little playhouse that my grandpa had built. And it's got like, it's a sandbox in there. And so we put them in there. It has a door so it closes. But the windows are just cut out. They don't have like actual windows in them. And we went in to go eat lunch. And when we came back out, there was a blue jay perched in the window. And we're like, wow, cool, blue jay. And then we're like, oh no, our baby quails. And so we go sneak over there and we look. And sure enough, it's diving in and swallowing those things whole. There was a big old lump in its throat. And so we're like, crap, if they're going to eat all the blue jay's going to eat all the freaking birds. And so we collect them back up. We went in the house, took them in the house, and we're playing with them. We're on the bed. They're in their little shoebox. And my brother sees these little worm things. He called them lice, but they were like maggots or something. And they're crawling around all over them. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's why the blue jay was eating them, because they're defective. And he's like, yeah, they're just not, they're bad. They've gone bad. And so we dug a hole and he threw them in there. And I was like, this seems sad. They're still alive. He's like, well, I'm not going to kill them, but like they're dying anyways. And so we buried live quail. It was sad. It was sad. We didn't know, okay? We're little. We didn't know. Okay, last story for today. So, same house. So at the corner where the ditch starts, you can actually crawl over that fence and then you'll be right there on the highway. Um, so you can easily crawl over the fence, right? If you were a shadow wolf, obviously. So my mom and I were supposed to go to the store, and it's starting to get dark. And she had put me in the truck, and she went inside because she forgot something. And she's like, "I'll be right back." And so she closed the door, and I'm just sitting there, and it's like taking forever. Like, where is she? Pop my little head over the window, like, don't see her. What's going on? And when I looked far in the distance, I see these two wolves because it's getting dark. And so they were looking like shadows. That's why I call them shadow wolves. And they were crawling over the fence. And it was like they're coming towards me and they're just sniffing all around. And I like really kind of freaked out, but then like was like looking for them and seeing where they were. And I looked back at the door and my mom's not coming out yet. And all of a sudden I hear clawing and barking, and they're like clawing at the truck door trying to get in. And all of a sudden, I can see their heads going in to the door trying to get my legs. So I put my legs up and I'm screaming and I'm starting to cry. And then I see my mom open the door, and now I'm starting to freak out. I'm like, oh my God, no, mom, the wolves, because I thought she was going to get eaten. And she opens the car door and I'm crying hysterically. I'm freaking out. She doesn't know why. She thought it was because she forgot me. And then she's like, sorry, I forgot you. We're not going to go to the store anymore. Anyways, let's go. And I'm like, the wolves, the wolves. What? No, come on, let's go, let's go. And we went in the house. The wolves were gone. I didn't know where they were. And then later it happened again with those wolves. And I actually conquered these later in a dream. But it was in a different house. We moved around a lot. So in a different house, it was the Lida Lane house, for those of you who are wondering, who know me. Anyway, so in the family room, we had like two different family rooms. Like it was a front room, and then it goes to the halls, and then back to rooms and a bathroom. And then over in the other direction is the main family room that's attached to the kitchen, and then it goes to the outside. Okay, so everybody's in watching TV. I think they were watching Simpsons. And I was in the other room coloring because I loved coloring. And I was obsessed with black stallions and drawing them and learning about them. Anyway, so I'm coloring and I'm kind of talking to myself and having a good old time just in my own world. And all of a sudden, these shadow wolves come through the wall at me, and I freaked out. So then I went and joined everybody else because I was not going to deal with some shadow wolves trying to eat me while I'm trying to freaking color, okay? Gosh, leave me alone. That night, they visited me in a dream. So my mom had just tucked us in. My sister and I shared a room. She was on the top bunk, I was on the bottom bunk. And um, our heads basically face the window, and then we can see the door, right? So I'm dead asleep, and in my dream, I'm in a forest, and I'm like in the middle of the forest. And when it's daytime, but when you're really in the thick of the forest, it seems really dark in there. And the only light shining through happened to be like right in the center of the woods. And there was this big, huge boulder. And I start seeing it. I start walking towards it. I'm like, wow, okay, that's kind of cool. I kind of want to climb that boulder because what kid doesn't want to climb a boulder? And all of a sudden, I feel this feeling of like being watched, and I'm kind of looking over my shoulders, like, huh? And I see these eyes deep in the trees, and they're coming forward, and it's a bunch of wolves, and there's a whole bunch of them just all around me. And I start to kind of freak out, and I start running, and then I run up to the boulder and I climb up on top, and they're chasing after me. And so I'm like freaking out, and I'm up there and they're trying to jump up onto the boulder, and I didn't know what to do. So I'm just kind of like sitting there, kind of screaming, kind of crying, kind of don't know what to do because no one else is around. And it's like the alpha wolf, and he was black and just gorgeous. Okay. The coolest looking wolf you've ever seen. And he's coming through, and he kind of like nods at the other wolves to just like back off, and they start backing off, and they get a little bit farther into the trees, but still you can see all of them, but they're just farther back. And the wolf comes closer to the stone and sits. And telepathically, we're talking. And he's like, come down from there. And I was like, no, you're a wolf. So I sat on the top of the rock and I'm just sitting there. I'm like, I'm not coming down. He's like, okay, I'll wait. And so he laid down. And I was like, okay. And I sat there, and in the dream, I'm like there like 30 minutes, just sitting on top of this boulder. And I'm like, okay, you know what? Honestly, I'm gonna have to like get down because I'm gonna have to pee or eat or something at some point. So I guess if I'm going to be eaten, this is my time, right? I'm like looking up, like talking to God, like, I guess this is what you wanted me to get eaten by wolves. And so I climb down off the boulder, and I don't get super close to him, but I just sit in front of him. And I'm like, fine, I'm down. What do you want? And he's like, I'm your protector. I'm not scary. We are your wolf pack. We are here to protect you. We're your guardians. And so then I was like, what? This is weird. So the wolf starts like army crawling over to me and puts his head in my lap. And you know when dogs are just so cute and fluffy and they're so soft, and then they like nudge you with their nose and your tummy's really tickly. And so it's doing that, and it's showing me that it's safe and that it's kind. And then I started laughing, and I was laughing so hard that I woke myself up laughing. And when I looked around, like, wait, what? I was in a dream. Wait, what the heck? I'm out of my bed. I was out of my bed and in the center of my room. So then I started laughing even harder because I'm like, how the heck did I get out of my bed and in the center of my room? This is weird. And then my mom comes out of the room. It's like 3 o'clock in the morning. And she's like, what is going on? It's like 3 a.m. What are you laughing about? I'm like, Mom, I just had the weirdest dream ever. Like, seriously, I have to tell you all about it. And she's like, I'm so tired. Just can we talk about it in the morning or something? Let's just go back to bed. Come on, go back to bed. And so I kind of start, I don't know if she remembers this. Mom, do you remember this? And so I get back in bed and I'm like, but it was about the wolf and I don't have to be scared anymore. She's like, okay, that's great, honey, but tell me in the morning because I'm really, really tired. I'm like, okay. So yeah, that's when I conquered the shadow wolves. Pretty neat and weird. Anyways, you have things to do. I have things to do, and we'll get back to story time in a little bit. And I think I will share the first head injury. Sandrail accident. All right. See you a little bit.